The MK party remains confident of its appeal at the Electoral Court. In coming to its decision to remove Zuma from the MK party list, the IEC says it simply followed the constitution. The Apex law stipulates that any person convicted of an offence and sentenced to more than 12 months imprisonment without the option of a fine is ineligible to stand for elections. But the MK party disagrees.
President Zuma was not incarcerated off the back of what would be Section 35 of the Constitution, where you ought to be before a judge and have a fair trial. President Zuma was incarcerated by a constitutional court without having been afforded, his constitutional rights to a fair trial. So we cannot necessarily label it as a criminal case. All he did was contempt of what would be contempt of court, and that is not a criminal case. It's more so a civil matter, and the IEC Act refers to a criminal matter. So there's a number of nuances that ought to be looked into here and had to be dealt with accordingly by the legal eagles.
Ndlela also raised concerns about the IEC's process in respect of objections on candidates who were nominated. He says the IEC has not acted in accordance with the rule of law principle.
The IEC's posture shows double standards, in effect. At one point, they refer to the rule of law, and let's not forget that the IEC exists off the back of the Constitution. So the IEC Act, exists off the back of the Constitution. So effectively what that means is they ought to draw any decisions that they make off the back of a court process or a court outcome. Of which in this case we would like to believe, is what is making us raise eyebrows about the IEC's posture.
Whatever the outcomes of the case in the Electoral Court, Ndlela says the party will remain on the ballot.
uMkhonto weSizwe will participate in these elections. I think that's a very key point to highlight here. And another point I want to highlight is that if you look at the ballot paper, it's not a face that ought to be, it's an emblem, it's a logo. So there's this notion that, next to the logo you'll have the candidate's face. That's not how it is. There's a logo in the name of the party and, the box at which you would then cast your X. So let's clarify that one first, all right? So is President Zuma going to be on the ballot box? Yes. Is he going to be on the candidate list? From where we're sitting, we're quite confident that that will be the case.
Meanwhile, the party is expected to have what it calls its People's Mandate in April. It will focus on 8 pillars, which include the land issue and traditional leadership, amongst others. The Electoral Court has until the 9th of April to make a determination on the IEC's decision. Only on the 10th of April will the public know for sure who will run as candidates for the political parties when the IEC publishes its final list. Natasha Phiri, SABC News, Johannesburg.